Welcome to Elementary. I hope you're having a fabulous Monday wherever you are. And I hope you had a great weekend and that you didn't get snowed in. And well, today I want to talk about a topic that may be near and dear to some of you. And I know I've been having quite a few people going through some struggles with this, and I thought this would be the perfect time to talk about it in case you were thinking about going down this road. Well, I'm your host, Jacqueline Watson, and I work out of Toronto. I'm a realtor, and my office is in Toronto, right around Dufferin, around the Yorkdale Mall. I want to talk about this in great lengths because I want people to consider these things when you're thinking of pre-construction. So today's topic is nailed it or failed it, the real cost of pre-construction. What you didn't see coming. So I know. You've decided you want to buy brand new. And listen, I'll give kudos to you for getting drawn in because you know you're paying a premium. You're paying a premium when you're buying pre-construction. But you've decided, premium or not, I'm going to buy it. And the mind is such, right? Because when we decide we want to do this, we could do it and then justify why we should do it and all of those great things. And hey, whatever works. Now, there's pros and cons to whatever you decide to do. And so we'll talk about some of the pros and the cons and some things that you should really kind of turn your mind to when you're deciding on pre-construction and what you need to be mindful of should this happen to you down the road. So, look, you're paying a premium and you're paying a premium for your dream. And why not? Why not? You work hard. You deserve this dream. You deserve it because you're going to get to live your own HGTV style little show, because quite frankly you're going to be able to buy this home and upgrade it as much as you want or as little as you want, and it could be your own little HGTV show on its own, right? But you could also be an investor looking to buy a second property and you think you're going to dump it and you're going to get tons of money coming in. Now, why do the builders charge you so much? The builders are actually measuring all of this out. Like the builders for them, I know some people are saying, hey, it's 20% and I get to bring in a bit of funds at a time and all of this money doesn't have to come up front. So over, a year or two or whatever this payment structure is, I can bring in little bits and pieces of money and pay for this, right? And so that is lucrative to people. But on the flip side, the builders are charging you a premium per square foot, but they're looking at it as future projections. And that's how they justify it to you. By the time you're ready to move into this house, the house is going to be worth more than what you're paying right now, even though we're charging you a higher price per square foot if you were to go out and buy a brand new property. A property on the street right now that was available, a resale property, you could buy it for a little cheaper, but by just waiting a couple of years, gathering up your money, doing all of this, you're going to have a projected price. And so they are taking a chance too, hoping the market just keeps going upwards in an upwards direction. And you're taking the same chance too, hoping that, it hasn't happened in the last little while. What are the odds it could happen to you? But you see, real estate is an odd situation, right? There's so much going on and things change. And when things change, all of these things can come crashing down. And for some of you, it may crash a little bit more than some others. So, for example, you may have, so let me give you some of the pros and cons of buying pre-construction. So, yes, you get to pick out your modern finishes. Yes, you get to customize it. And the con of that is that you're paying builder prices to do all of that, which could be quite expensive. Yes, there's potential appreciation, but there's also could be depreciation too. Not depreciation, but really market values change, right? Like maybe the market is not as strong when you decide you're going to close on this. Now, deposit structure is sometimes quite lucrative. The builders are allowing you to bring in maybe a couple of $100,000 over a year or two, a year and a half. And And then you're just waiting for the property to get built. And then you get the 7-year Tyrion warranty to protect against some structural defects. And these days I'm seeing a lot of little things that the builders are not, little shabby, I must say, on some homes. Now, when it comes down to the cons and what you could be seeing is delays. Delay. I had this one client who had bought a pre-construction right before I knew them. I actually sold their house and they had so many delays. It took so long to get ready. And when they got their condo, it was in such bad, not bad situation. It was just dirty. It was not complete. It had so many little things going on with it. And the builder was very unorganized, right? And the other cons could be price per square foot. You could be paying a premium on the price per square foot. Closing costs. So closing costs are also an additional. So for example, some of the closing costs that you see when you're buying a brand new property could be, first of all, the developmental cost. And so is the developmental cost being capped? And it's important because it can cost a lot of money if they're not capped. Assignments, do you get to assign the property? And what's the assignment fee? Is it free? Now, one thing you must understand with assignments is that even though your assignments are allowed, the builder has to give you permission to put a unit up for sale on the market. And people don't understand that. They think they can just put the unit up anytime just because they have a free assignment. But the issue is that the builder has to give you permission. And if the builder has inventory on the market, they don't want you competing with them, right? And the other thing too is for you to understand that there's an HST component, right? And if you're buying the property as an investor, you're not going to live in it, or you don't end up living in it and then you decide to sell it, there's that risk that the builder is not going to be able to, you're not going to get the HST component, the amount that they get as a rebate. And inadvertently, you end up not being able to get that rebate or allow the next possible. So if there's a couple of places for sale, and let's just say a new buyer has an option of not paying the HST, they will go that way, right? So if they have to pay an HST amount, that becomes a real issue too. So those are some things that you need to be mindful of when you're buying a brand new home. And, I've been seeing more and more home inspections being called on when you're buying a brand new home, because the homes are, like I said, coming up short. There's so many things that you don't realize that people haven't taken care of. As a builder, as a brand new home, that you want to make sure you've made note of all that, right? So those are some things to be mindful of. What else should you be doing? What questions should you be asking yourself if you decide you want to go with buying a pre-construction home? And in those cases, you want to really kind of dig into the builder's track record, see if they've got any fines or levies administered to them, and if they work well, and what some of the feedback has been. Now, there are some really good builders that have a really good reputation, and they tend to be top notch, and you don't see them falling for like the Tridals of the world. They do their thing, and they do build a very good product. And so, be mindful about who the builder is, what the price per square foot is, what a resale price per square foot is in the same area right now. And so you can understand, little things like that, like also the cap developmental fees and the timelines, and be realistic, because there will be delays, and they can delay. Like, look at your. But one thing I would say is that, if you're going to sign on the dotted line, you should have a lawyer review your paperwork so that you know what you're getting into. Because in the last little while, some of the builders have been putting in like little clauses about additional costs, and if it costs more, that those costs would be assumed by you. What's more important right now is when you gamble with your money. Sometimes, look, when you're buying brand new, it's all good. You're saying, hey, I take X amount of time to get my property, and hopefully the property appreciates. But there are times where you have to be prepared that the market may not do what you want the market to do, right? And so how do you recoup from that piece? So right now, what I'm seeing quite a bit of is appraisals not coming in at its value. And so if you bought something for 800,000, and I'm just using a number like that, you've put down 20%, the appraisal doesn't come in at the amount it's supposed to. Let's say the appraisal comes in short at 700,000. You have to now come up with an additional 100,000 at closing in addition to what you already have given. Now, you may not, and that's why I say just be prepared. Like if things change, run numbers 10 ways to Sunday so that you can understand, like, hey, if things change, will I be able to close this at with 10% down, with 20% down? What do I need to bring? How would I close it if the numbers change and we're not moving in the same direction like we were? And then what we've been seeing a lot lately is people having to make this choice. Do I stay or do I go? And by that, I mean, do I close on this property and put it back on the market for sale? Or do I then leave it with the builder? And I mean, that is a math question and a legal question that you should ask your lawyer. Now, if you have a lot of assets, you may want to think twice, because I think the builders are also smart. If they're going to squeeze you for stuff, they obviously are looking for people who have assets, right? Like if you have nothing to your name and they can't get anything more out of you, I mean, they might decide. And the other part to it is that I think they have a 2-year window, if I'm not mistaken, to come after you for the difference. So they don't have to put it back on the market right away and sell it right away. They can actually hold on to it for a little bit. So if you decide, hey, I bought this brand new property, and and now the property is not appraising, and now I have to bring in more money at the end. How do I then deal with it? Can I afford to close it? And will I get that money back? So I got a few stories to tell you. So I had this one place I showed a client, and so the people had paid, I think, 1450, and there were a couple of places in the same area. One was at 1.5, one was at 1450. Now they wanted a bit more because they're trying to make money, you see. So for them, they bought a brand new home. They paid that amount. They paid the down payment. They paid the amount at closing. They had to bring extra money to the table because their appraisals didn't come in at the same amount. So now they're putting the house on the market, and they would rather not lease it. But even leasing is not bringing them even on. So they still have to. They're not cash flowing, right? So even when you do a lease with these rates, and these high amounts, you're not going to cash flow. So if you're not cash flowing, I mean, what sort of business are you running? So I guess they're deciding, should I stop the bleeding? And they're hoping to get back all of the money they've put in. So when they closed on the property, so let's say you paid 1.5, you had to pay your land transfer tax, you had to pay closing costs, your lawyer's fees, blah, blah, blah. You had to pay any other like developmental fees, any other fees that were associated with it, and the shortfall if you didn't appraise at the same amount. So whether it's 50,000, 100,000, any of that, right? So you had to pay all of those fees associated with it. And so now your 1.5 unit becomes so much more expensive than what you purchased it for. So now you're saying to a brand new person, you've just closed on the unit, right? And you closed for 1.5, like that's what you paid for it, plus closing costs. And you're expecting someone to walk off the street and pay you the same amount where you didn't even get an appraisal back at that amount. Maybe your appraisal came in at 1.4. So the person is already feeling sorry for you, but at the same time, they can't see how they want to take on the burden of this property, and then the, lender coming back and saying, hey, your appraisal didn't come in at that amount. So they've just bought this property for 1.5 and they're trying to sell it for like maybe 100 or 200 more, because at least they want to cover all the expenses that they've put into it, plus realtor fees, the whole 9 yards, and walk away with not losing their shirt. Well, for those people, I would say that if you walked away without losing some money, you're doing good. You should just, or hang on to it. Maybe 5 years from now, 3 years from now, there'll be a different take on the market and maybe you'll get what you're looking for. But you made a bad investment, and so you got to deal with it. It's not anyone else's problem, it's your problem. And, it's not anyone else's problem, it's your problem. You decided you want to take this on, you wanted to do this. And, had the shoe been on the other foot where the market was doing great things and you were not going to lose your shirt, this would have been a great investment for you, right? So, all of this comes with, choices you make in life. And sometimes you make choices that don't pan out the way they're supposed to. But all I'm saying to you is that when something like this happens, if I'm taking a client to see a property, I think truthfully, you have to say to the client, hey, I don't know what your appraisal is going to come back at. And you just have to make sure that your lender does the appraisal in order to do that. So I think there's a couple of different things. A lot of these units are sitting on the market for a long time. Even with this whole down payment at 10% extended, where maybe some of these people use that option and closed, there are a lot of people who are unable to close. And so the question that, I keep getting is, should I close and rent the property, or should I actually walk away from it? And at that point, it's not a question I can answer for them, right? It's a question they have to answer for themselves. They have to actually, figure out the math, go see a lawyer and figure out the math. And, but the one thing I want to say to you is, if you got, we're talking about homes, we're talking about any kind of home, so condos included. So for example, if you got a condo, and if you decide you want to walk away from it, then don't wait until occupancy, right? Because once you take occupancy, there's a whole different situation. Even though you don't own the property, there's a whole different situation, because, the lenders will ask you, if you're going to take occupancy, you got two options: pay for the whole thing now, like you were closing, but you don't really own it, and start paying your mortgage until you close it, or pay the interest. And the interest right now can be quite high. So, these are all things that I would say to you that you should go see a lawyer and figure out what the math looks like. And some people are trying to figure out, will it be cheaper for me to walk away with it, even if they sue me, or walk away from it, or should I then close on it, hang on to the property, try to rent it out, and hope I don't get desperate enough to take just any renter, and I do my due diligence, and also be okay with paying some money out of my pocket, because the rent may not cover all of this amount that I need to put together or tie up for this property. So there's a lot of moving pieces, and I don't want to sound insensitive, but at the same time, you need to deal with it, right? And the struggle is real, but you need to deal with it. You need to figure out, hey, what should I do? Should I close on this property? Should I pay out of my pocket for a bit? And, you may have a home that has a mortgage right now, and taking on a second property may not be an option for you, because now you'll have to pay two mortgages. The market is quite flooded with rentals right now. So rentals are also taking a little longer. And while some people are eager to move into your rental, you want to make sure that they are actually the right fit for your rental, and that they have the money available to pay every month, and that they're not going to actually not pay and leave you stranded, because then you'll have more stress, right? So these things are real. You have to be mindful, but I'm always telling people, yeah, you want to make quick money, and but you also want to make sure, that whatever you're doing is the right thing. I know the last few years people have gone gung-ho. Like, I know there's one place this guy had his name on like 2 different properties, and he had put 350,000 down. These were big houses. They were very expensive houses, and no one would touch them. No one wanted to take them on, and so he walked away from 2 of them. My God, 700,000. Perhaps he made 700 or more in a previous deal. So maybe he came. It was a wash. Who knows? But it's a lot of money to lose, even if you're gambling with what's not yours. But anyways, seeing that you have no questions, do you guys have any questions for me? Seeing that you have no questions, and I wanted to have this opportunity to talk about this huge topic that, if you're an investor and that you're really thinking about it, I mean, that you kind of look at it in a different light. A lot of times we'll have properties come on the market after someone buys it. And if you're just looking to live in it and you want to buy a resale, then you can buy a brand new home. Maybe it doesn't have all of your taste, but a lot of people, like, if they're buying it as an investment, they're told, hey, keep it neutral, keep it safe where people will buy into this. But I've also seen a few homes that are brand new on the market, and they have very cheap finishes. And so that's the other problem too. You decide to walk into a home that is between 1.5 and 2. And while they're newer homes, they have like really cheap finishes. So which means you're like looking at probably pulling out all this cabinetry and changing everything, and that's going to cost money too. So a lot of times people don't realize what the true cost is when they're taking on these things. Now, I've seen a few of the homes that I was looking at too. They haven't picked all the features, right, that a home buyer coming into this market would want. So if you're in a brand new development or a brand new subdivision, and if you had to pay a premium for 10-foot ceilings, it's a good premium too. You can't change structurally, you can't change that. Now these days the builders have become very, very smart. There's a premium for everything. Back in the day, if you happen to land on the area where you had a walkout or larger windows, it was all good. But now everything is a premium. Even if you had like a little bit of a grading dip and you could get bigger windows, it would be a cost for that. So everything is a cost, and you just have to know that while you want to do this HG style TV home, there are some things for you to be mindful of and to make the best choices if you're planning to resell it or you're planning to live in it, right? I mean, so today, nailed it or failed it? That was the topic, and the real cost of pre-construction you didn't see coming. So I hope it was informative, and for those of you watching, I appreciate your time. And until next Monday, if you have a topic you want to dig deeper into, let me know. Darren, we should do another show. 3D staging, we should do a show too. I don't know who else joined, but I can see you guys. So, and I don't want to respond because for some reason my Instagram is doing funny things. Every time I comment on stuff, the whole screen changes and I don't know where to go after that. So until next time, we'll see you then. If you wanted to do a show with me, get in touch, DM me, and we can do a quick interview and reintroduce you to people. Until next time, have a good one.